Yeah.
Wonderful. So I see some people already with us. Yes, Isai? Oh, Israel, I can't hear you. Sorry.
Can you hear me, Devorah?
Yeah,
Yes,
now I can hear it.
I can hear you
Perfect.
now. So it
People
looks like
started
some
joining
people.
in.
How do you see?
Wonderful.
I don't see any people. I guess I'm just a guest too.
There's a under our names. There's a list of attendees. There's a nice list of people coming in.
All right, I don't have it, but
All right.
Yes.
Well,
I'm
Okay.
curious.
trust us. Beautiful people are coming in.
Yeah, Israel gave me one of the names, and it's one of my former students. A few of my former students will be here. So,
Wow. Wow. I'm
So
excited.
we're 2 minutes ahead now. So I think we should wait just a bit because in my on my computer it says 2:58.
Yes.
So
Yes. Let's wait
okay,
and be sure everyone has a chance to come in.
3:58. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. Let's wait. We'll give. Oh, I see so many wonderful people here. Yeah, we'll wait a little bit. If you guys want, we can see the comments. Some of us can see the comments, and we'd love to know where you're from. So if you want to tell us the name of your school or what part of the country you're from, we're happy to see that come in as you guys join. Devorah will tell you what we see.
okay. Mhm.
Just one more minute.
Yeah, I would even say if it's okay, can we wait like I don't know, what do you guys do at the ministry? Devorah, do you start exactly on time or do you give people another minute or two?
1 or 2 minutes is okay. Yeah, but we want to
Okay.
respect those who came on time. So, a
Excellent,
couple of minutes
excellent.
is fine.
Wonderful. So we'll give it well I think we'll start at like 4:02. Is that okay, Si? Does that sound
Yeah,
reasonable?
yeah. Perfect. Perfect.
Excellent. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Devorah, say something. I want to hear how your mic is.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Try to get closer. I think it might
Yeah.
be helpful.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, when you're
Yes.
really up close, we can hear you super well.
Okay.
Wonderful. Oh, I see nice people joining in. We'll just give another 2 minutes, let everyone join us.
Oh, I wish I could see everybody. Say hello to all my students and all my colleagues. Hi there, whoever you are.
You probably know all of these people. They all know you, that's for sure. Wonderful. We'll give just another minute. Israel, I don't see moderated chat. I just see public.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll make it done.
There it is. Wonderful.
Okay. Yes. I think we should. I think we should begin.
You
If you
guys,
don't mind.
right? Someone had just written in one of the groups that she thinks I'm muted.
You're disconnected for a sec.
One of the WhatsApp groups, someone wrote to me that I'm muted. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So Ariela, whoever that was, try your speaker, see if you can hear. Leora, Ariela, see that you guys can hear.
You can write in the chat and we'll see it. Don't worry.
Excellent.
May I? Gabi?
Yeah, let's begin. I think we have a lot of
Okay.
people have already joined in, and the rest will join us in good old Israeli time. So let's begin.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So welcome to all of you who joined us. Today we're going to talk about the major roadblocks to successful English learning and what teachers can do about it. A rare conversation here with Devorah Amar, former Ministry English Inspector. So today we'll be covering the major roadblocks to successful English learning and what teachers can actually do about it. This is a rare conversation, and I'm really glad that you're here with us. We're joined today by Devorah Amar, former Chief Inspector of English Language Learning, and Gabi Klav, founder of English with Gabi and creator of Friends textbook program. This session also serves as an introduction to the Friends textbook program. And let me introduce the two ladies here. I'll start with Gabi. She's the founder of English with Gabi and creator of the Ministry of Education approved Friends English textbook. She holds a bachelor education, a master in psychology. I always mix this word, and is a certified family therapist, life and family coach, and facilitator of mind-body process. Her work has always focused on how people learn, grow, and develop, both emotionally and cognitively. Before moving to Israel, Gabi served as an executive director of a nonprofit organization in the US, working with underserved population. It's a word we don't use here. Underserved population in health and education. She came to Israel with the intention of continuing that impact and quickly identified a critical gap in early English education. She saw that many students were actually reaching later grades without a real foundation, not because of lack of effort, but because of how English was taught or how they started learning it. Drawing on her background and experience, Gabi developed a new structured approach of English teaching, focused on comprehension, communication, and confidence from day one. This approach became actually the Friends textbook and the Friends program, now approved by the Ministry of Education. Alongside this work, Gabi has involved alternative and innovative education, including founding a democratic school in Kibbutz Amirim in 2008. I believe some of you, if not all of you, know it. Developing English learning centers and homeschooling her own children for 3 years while she was traveling around the world. Impressive, Gabi. Her enrichment program has served over 480 institutions across Israel, and her wartime approved program was given to over 1,600 Israeli educators. Today, our work is focusing on one clear goal: to help students in Israel actually build their English correctly from the very beginning, so they don't struggle with gaps later on. That's Gabi. Now I want to move into Devorah. I believe all of you know her. Devorah has over 20 years of experience as an English educator. She most recently served as a chief inspector of English language learning for elementary school in Israel, working at the national level of policy, national performance standards, and program evaluation. She currently works as a teacher trainer in English department as in מכללת הקיבוצים and מכללת גורדון. Is that right? She holds a MED in TEFL and is currently completing her PhD in applied linguistics in AICU in Romania. Devorah lives in north of Israel with her husband Sagi She is a proud mother of 4 and grandmother of 3. Very impressive. And now we're moving on.
Okay, so I'll jump in here. Gabi has this lovely thing that she does, that she dedicates each of her webinars to someone special. So this time I get to do the dedication. So first of all, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here today. Before we formally begin our discussion, I would like to take a moment to dedicate my participation in today's webinar to the memory of my dear grandparents. All 4 of my grandparents were Holocaust survivors who endured unimaginable atrocities and loss. Yet despite everything they went through, they chose life. They chose to carry on, to rebuild, and to create a family. Because of their courage, resilience, and determination, I am here today. Because of them, there are now 4 generations of our family. Their strength did not end with survival. It lives on through all of us. I carry their memory with me in everything I do, and I always hope to make them proud. Being here today is thanks to them, and I'm deeply grateful for the legacy they created. May their memories always be a blessing. So on the left, we have my maternal grandparents. Their Hebrew names were Chana and Aryeh Yehuda Lelkovich. And on the right, my paternal grandparents, Hebrew names or Yiddish names, Shendel and Eliyahu Skoretsky. And I think of them every day.
I have goosebumps.
Thank
you,
you,
Devorah.
Thank you.
May their memory be a blessing.
Thank you.
Yes. So we're talking about the main challenges in English. I'm going to read it for a second. Students learn for years but have trouble using the language. Second is early frustration leads to long-term disengagement. And I think you all know that or feel that. Coverage of material replaces the real learning. As an English teacher, it is a struggle to cover and to learn. It's always one against another, and I'm not sure why or how to overcome that. Devorah comes from a national level after looking at policies, national performances, standards, and decision-making on a statewide level. She has looked at program from a comparative standpoint from above. In addition to her many years of classroom experience teaching A1 foundational English and up, Gabi comes from a content creator view. With her degrees in education and psychology and with direct feedback from over 480 institutions in the field and 1,600 teachers sharing what they were missing, what gaps were in the material, gaps that led to gaps in their student English and frustration in the classroom. We're bringing both angles together here for a deep top to bottom or bottom to top analysis of what is working today. So next thing, just a second, let me go here. Today's focus, I'm going to read it again. Engagement, why students disconnect early. Time, why nothing sticks. Cognitive load, why learning breaks down. And material, what actually needs to change. In addition to everything on the slide here, throughout our session today, we'll be integrating how a Friends textbook program is actively addressing each of these issues. This isn't theoretical. It's important to say that. These are real solutions already in classrooms. Let's move on.
The stage is yours.
It's you.
Yes. Okay. So Gabi, if it's okay with you, I'm going to start a little bit with some of what I've seen in the field, a little bit of the kind of theory, different issues that I've experienced over the years, and then I'll turn it over to you with a question. So starting here, I want to talk about things that I've seen related to students sometimes not connecting with English. So one of the biggest challenges in early English teaching is that many children do not experience English as something alive or useful. It doesn't always feel meaningful or enjoyable. Instead, they experience it as another school subject. When English is limited to tasks like copying words, completing worksheets, or isolated vocabulary practice, students students may not understand actually its purpose. Young learners need to feel that language helps them do something real, like express themselves, ask questions, communicate, sing, and dance and play. In the field, we see that young learners often begin English with a natural spark of curiosity and enthusiasm. When they're young, they really enjoy learning a new language. They usually enjoy these stages when lessons include speaking, singing, movement, games, playful interaction, and so on. But when English feels exciting and accessible. However, as the level rises, and language structures become more demanding, some learners begin to lose that spark, and motivation can and often does decline very quickly. Furthermore, many learners do not experience enough moments of success as they progress. So at the beginning, most children are willing to try, but if the learning experience becomes too difficult, too fast, or too focused on mistakes, students may begin to feel confused or incapable. We know that young learners need an ongoing continuum of success, small regular experiences that help them feel, I can do it, I belong here, I am learning. So Gabi, the question becomes, how do we create learning experiences where students continue to feel connected, capable, and motivated as language becomes more challenging?
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Devorah. If you can go to the next slide, I want to try to answer some of these points. Thank you very much. First of all, before I even talk about these, we want to look in terms of psychology. There's certain stages of development. Erickson is one of the best used examples in child development, and we know that we have to accomplish certain stages in order to advance to the next stage. And we need to understand that a child in 3rd grade is at a very egocentric place. And his world is about me, my family, my likes, what I want, what I see, what I feel. And if we don't give the child an opportunity to personally connect to the data, to personally connect to the subject, then he won't have an affinity for this subject as he grows older. We have to understand this is an emerging 3D human being, and we need him to feel something ignite within him. Especially learners today, they don't really care so much about the sticker or the grade or mom's going to get mad at you if you don't listen. They do care more about personal motivation, intrinsic motivation, and something that's novel, that makes them feel excited. So what we always said, what our second tagline for the enrichment program has always been, and it is also for the Friends program, is if we can make learning effective, fun, and easy for the teacher, it'll be effective, fun, and easy for the child. So we want to create a joyful environment where the child feels I can succeed, and we're building his ability to deal with harder things, like you said, going later, and it has to be personally relevant. Israel, if you can change the next, sorry, no, go back. Sorry, Devorah.
Yes.
So it's about what I just said.
I absolutely agree with what you're saying. We know that relevance reduces resistance. So learners who feel that the material is relevant to them will feel more calmer, motivated, and willing to try, even for the duration.
And I like when you said that we want them to see English as a personal gateway to expressing themselves. If they see it as another school subject, it's a school subject. But if I see English as a way to help you understand me, the most basic foundational need in psychology is to be understood. You see me, you understand me. And if English can be a gateway at school to help our children see this is a way for self-expression, then you won them early on, and they'll stay committed to their English language learning journey.
Definitely. And what is language if not, interaction? That's what it's for. So if they can interact, if they can express themselves, then they'll see it as more than just a subject.
Absolutely, absolutely. Israel. So this is from the Friends textbook. We wanted to show quick examples of how this can be done right. The grammar structures we teach are egocentric grammar structures. I am, I like, I have, I see, I want, this is my. And then the topics, I am, so they're integrated. I am a boy, I am happy, I am sad. I like number 5. I am 4 years old. I have a blue shirt. This is my dad. I have 3 sisters. I want to use language as a way to express myself. You have to help the child express themselves in simple, usable language. So we take our grammar structures and we'll recycle them 30,000 times, and the kids will understand this is how I can express my world. Also, in the teacher's guide, every topic we bring up, we say, how does it apply to the child? If we taught the word dog and cat, we said, who is a dog? Who is a cat? Do you like dogs or cats better? Like, we're going to use everything. Like, we talk about food. I like tomatoes. I don't like cucumbers. The idea, again, is getting the child involved in expressing himself. Yofi, next. Same thing, we need short learning cycles. The children of today are not the children of 5 years ago or 10 years ago. We're all ADHD now. Short interactive learning cycles where we're bringing things in little bites that are scaffolded to build their confidence. Like you said, Devorah, it's going to get harder later on. So if I can have kids feel a sense of success now, when it gets more challenging, they can buckle up and say, oh, I can do this. I'm good at English. And then they'll be able to rely on themselves as they face English language challenges. So here we just see, she is presented 30 different times. He is presented 20 times. The idea is also, notice it's varied. We want the kids eventually to be able to recognize, read, write, speak, all of the competencies that we're wanting for them later. We're introducing them now. Very important. Okay, unless you have something to say, I'll just keep going. The last thing, which is really important for us, is we looked at the things that most challenge our Israeli learners. To be verbs are hard for them. The vowel I is hard for Israeli learners. So we did a lot of very conscientious steps here to be sure that everything is recycled over and over and over again, to be sure that they can overcome any learning discrepancy challenges they might have before we go on to the next step. Before we move on, Devorah, if you have any thoughts?
Yeah, well, we will talk about recycling and spiraling a little bit later, but something that I noticed here is that language is not just relevant to them, which is extremely important, but it's also, you're giving them chunks of language here that they can use immediately. And it's not just something that they can recognize and translate, but it's something that they can interact with right away. And that's something that will get them to actually use the language. So I think that'll be very helpful to them.
Excellent. Thank you. Right. It was important for us that they don't use language only when they're readers, that they can start using language immediately. So there's 13 lexical grammar chunks that we teach them that help them express their world.
So frequent, I assume frequently and useful language that you share with them. Great. Okay, so moving on to another issue that we come across a lot is that there's limited time and there are high expectations. And of course, we have to have a framework. We're working within, a country. We're working within a system, and that's true. But there are some, downsides to that. So one of the most common realities in elementary English teaching is the gap between the time available and the expectation placed on the teachers and the learners. We often expect steady progress, strong outcomes, and broad coverage, but the actual instructional time is limited. It's very limited. This can lead teachers to feel pressure to move quickly through units in order to finish the material. But coverage doesn't always equal learning. We know that. Just because I taught it, it doesn't mean the learners know it. So moving on before students are ready may create the appearance of progress while understanding remains fragile or non-existent even. In addition, language learning requires repetition, revisiting, practice, and meaningful use over time. Young learners need chances to hear language again, as we said, repetition. So to hear it again, to use it again, and to succeed with it again and again. When schedules are tight, there is often not enough time for true mastery, only first exposure. Students may recognize language in one lesson, but not retain or use it confidently later. this can lead to gaps, okay? Gaps that Israeli mentioned before in language. In the early years, small gaps can later become huge gaps, okay, very quickly. A learner who does not fully understand key vocabulary, basic sentence patterns, or reading foundations may struggle more with each new stage because language learning is obviously cumulative. What seems like a small misstep in grade 3 can become a much bigger challenge later. And when learners feel they are constantly trying to catch up, confidence also drops. So again, Gabi, I'd like to ask you and to discuss with you, how can we use the limited time wisely so that students build secure foundations and not just complete content?
Yeah, thank you. Israel, we need the next slide. And Devorah, I feel like it's something that's really important to sort of talk about. There's a few white elephants, in the room. And one of them is we are part of a country that has mandatory education. And this mandatory education system is huge. And inside of that mandatory education system, we have the reality of Israel. We have teachers who are leaving Department of Education, a lack of English teachers, huge classrooms, children who are traumatized. I mean, we just have so much going on, in addition to the idea that kids are too much on their phones and can't focus. And we need to sort of pay attention to all of this and say, okay, what can I do effectively inside of the situation that I'm in? And the answer is use your time wisely. That's what I've got. That's what I got. I'm here, I'm teaching, I'm doing the best I can. How can I use my time wisely? And my suggestion is to find a textbook program that gets the teacher feeling safe, secure, supported, and excited. And if the teacher, and it doesn't have to be English with Gabi, find the book that makes you go, I love this, I want to teach. If you energetically are excited to teach, you will do a better job and your kids will do a better job. That's even before everything.
It can also absolutely be Friends by Gabi Klaff.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So go ahead.
Sorry.
No, continue. And then I was going to ask you if you have some concrete examples that you want to show us, but please continue.
So what's really important is understanding that the best way to have a child learn is in bite-sized units. What used to be acceptable, standing in front of a classroom and teaching for 45 minutes, cannot be. There has to be a varied, small chunks of information that we teach them through spiral learning. So that, and the advantage of spiral learning, and this is actually a really big thing here, is one of the big problems that teachers have today is classroom discipline. And what happens is my weak learners feel stupid. They don't know what's going on. They're disengaged. So they're going to disrupt class. And my strongest learners are bored because they don't have to hear it 6 times. They got it the first time. So they're going to disturb class. And you've got this poor teacher who really wanted to be an educator standing in front of a classroom going, how do I put all of these, how do I do differential learning? How do I put all of these different kids at different levels? How do I help them at the same classroom to get into the material? And the answer is by spiral reinforcement and bite-sized learning. And I'll explain my thoughts on that. If I got it the first time and you keep telling me again and again, I'm going to be so bored. But if you present it to me one time in a game and one time in a song and one time in a writing activity and one time in a reading activity and one time in this, then I'm still engaged. But if I didn't get it, then I'll need those 7 repetitions to get it. And I think the idea of bite-sized learning with spiral reinforcement and constant that will help both ends of the scale and the middle of the curve feel comfortable and confident in their learning.
Okay, that's definitely something that we know from the field and from research that the best way to process information is when we're given short, manageable learning cycles. And as you said, it's extremely important to repeat. But your solution of repeating and not boring the learners by doing it in a different way answers, it helps both types of learners, those who catch on quickly, but those who also need the extra reinforcement. So that's a good solution.
And we're also, Devorah, we're also really acknowledging that some kids need to see it, some kids need to write it, some kids need to hear it, some kids need to move their body the whole time, no matter what's going on. So we're really trying also to use art, also to use songs, also to use stickers, and, you know, to try all the different modalities that we can to be sure we're covering all of our learners and all of their preferences.
So yes, that's definitely doing differentiated learning, which we absolutely preach, and also learning styles, learning, learning needs, all of that. You're covering that. And do you want to maybe show us some examples of how you do that in your book?
Yes, thank you. Wonderful, Israel. So for example, the constant re-exposure, we'll give it to them in a flashcard, we'll give it to them in activities. Even in the teacher's guide, I just took a picture of the teacher's guide. We have every time a vocabulary word or a lexical chunk is re-entered, you know it. So you'll see how many times all of them are recycled over and over and over again. We don't teach it one time. You know, in psychology, they say in order to build an affinity to something, I need to see it at least 7 times. So everything is repeated at least 7 times, probably 27 times, to be sure that the kid is like, oh, I like the word, you know, apple. I like the word dog. I like, and I can use these phrases. So the repetition is super important for us.
But presumably in different ways each time, not 27 times in the same way.
No, totally different ways every time. And this is another example. We're looking at how we can help our 21st century learners. We do believe that kids today, and psychologically we see the damage we have from kids being on technology too much, but we do value that that is one way to get our kids motivated. So English with Gabi, the Friends program, has lots of digital extras. We have the YouTube videos, we have digital games, we have a whole digital world available. And when you get the presentation, we're going to send you guys all this presentation. You can click on these links, but it's really important for me to say also the program works also with no chashmal. If you don't have an audio cable, if you don't have internet today, lo halacha shiur. So we're taking into account learning competencies using all the tools we can. Digital is extra, but it's not the only way to communicate to our kids. It's very important. Devorah.
Yes, I'm back. Okay, so again, we're thinking about discussing here cognitive overload and the needs for breaks in learning. And in addition to what you said about spiraling and bite-sized portions, young learners can learn a great deal, but only when new language is introduced in developmentally appropriate ways as well. So when too many demands are placed on children at the same time, learning can slow down or stop altogether, which is something that we see. In the early stages of English, children are not only learning a new language, they're also learning how to manage new sounds, new symbols, and new meanings. Sometimes students are expected to decode words, copy words, understand meaning, remember pronunciation, produce language all at once. Okay, I feel like that would be too much for me. For many young learners, this is simply too much processing at one time. When reading and writing are introduced before students have enough oral familiarity with the language, literacy can become mechanical, just the process of decoding, rather than meaningful. Children may complete tasks without truly understanding what the language behind them. And this can lead to cognitive overload, which often follows a very predictable pattern, which is learners become uncertain, then confused, then passive, and just stop. So some children stop participating, others guess, and even others will quietly withdraw. This is not a lack of ability on their part. It's often a sign that the learning demand is too high. We know that when children feel overwhelmed, confidence and motivation can drop quickly as well. However, language grows strongest when children first hear it, use it, repeat it, and become comfortable with it orally. If learners don't build a secure oral foundation, reading and writing become much more difficult. Children need to recognize the sounds, understand basic words and patterns, and feel familiar with the language before being asked to process it in print, like they do in their mother tongues. Strong speaking and listening are not extras in the early years. They are the capital THE, foundation. So Gabi, the question here becomes, how do we sequence learning in ways that reduce overload and build strong foundations for long-term success?
Well, you know what, even before I answer that, I want to refer to a few things that you said that I think are really, really powerful. First of all, when we naturally learn a language, we don't anticipate that a baby will answer us. He's receptive, 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 receptive. We've recycled the same word 5,000 times. Do you want a cookie? Do you want a cookie? Do you want a cookie? And then he's production. He has production. And we need to remember that in Israel, English is not a national language. English is not a second language. English is a foreign language, which means that when kids go outside, they're not going to hear the bus driver or the guy in the super talking in English. So we need to create in our classrooms a replica of how they would learn L1. And I think it's really important that you talked about that if we don't give them a strong oral foundation, we're kind of throwing them into the water to perform without giving them the tools.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying that I mean, I agree with you, but you're saying that children they need language in their ear before they can produce confidently and before they can move on. And it reminds me a little bit of Krashen's silent period, where we give, the learner or the child time to process before we actually expect them, the output. So,
right.
Yeah.
Which takes me back to what we talked about earlier, that, we have the weaker learners and the stronger learners. And one thing I often tell teachers to do, because they say, what do I do with these different levels? Pair them up. Put them in groups of 2 or 3 kids and have stronger ones and weaker ones together and have them answer as a team. So you have collaboration and you have mentoring happening, and you have Israel and I talked about this in another lecture. There's this theory of learning that says Q, 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 A, A, A. And it's not ask a question, give an answer. It's ask a question, do a query. I forgot what the other Q was. Analyze, share, and then answer. So give them time to gain what they need from each other even, and then answer. And then you're giving them a better chance to have, like you said, the confidence they need to succeed. Another thing, I think, Devorah, another huge white elephant we have, and I see it also in the questions coming in, but isn't the whole point of grade 3 for kids to be able to read? Isn't that the whole point of grade 3?
Absolutely. Even within the curriculum, the oral stage has to come before the written stage. They need to be exposed to language before they begin reading that process, and also to hear the language, phonetics, phonological awareness, all of that before they can begin reading, just like in the first language.
Right. And I meet a lot of teachers and coordinators that have this pressure because of the time constraints and because of the system to say, I need my kids to be reading CVC by May. April, May, my kids are all readers. And I thought about something you had said to me when we discussed this topic, and you said, I'm quoting you, you said, there's no way to use language without having language.
Right. We need the exposure first. You can't speak the language without the language. You can't read the language without the language. And also you have this beautiful tree here on the slide. If we don't have the roots, if we don't have the foundation, we can't grow. Language won't, okay, maybe they'll be able to do this mechanical decoding, but that's not comprehension. And language is something that's meant to be understood, spoken, interactively. So they definitely need, and that's why the curriculum is built around having an oral part aspect before beginning reading.
And you're right. I put the tree here because I thought about, if I want to build a castle out of Lego, I have to have the Lego pieces. And I think a lot of educators, because of the pressure and because the system, they're confusing reading with decoding. Can you explain to us the difference between reading and decoding? Because I think that's a big misconception in Israel.
Yeah, so decoding is just the mechanical assigning a sound to a symbol. Okay, so I see a symbol like this W on the first letter on the slide, these 4 lines, and I know that it goes W. And so doing that mechanically would be decoding, and that's a nice trick. But if we don't, but in order to actually read, to move on to that, we need to actually understand, and we need the fluency, and we need the speed and all of that. And it's great if everybody at the end of the third grade can decode, but it's much more important for them to be able to put it all together, combine it with the language, understand what they're reading, and be able to do this as things progress and become more difficult as well.
You know something else that I see, which I think needs to be acknowledged? So about half the schools, if I understand correctly, about half the schools in Israel start English early exposure in Aleph for an hour and Bet for 2 hours. And then they come to Gimel with the foundations. And about half the schools in Israel start English in Gimel. And then you have all of the teachers who don't really understand who started when, talking in all these WhatsApp groups and saying, well, I'm already in Unit 5 and I'm in Unit 7 and I'm here. And they stress each other out. And I think we have to acknowledge that a child needs the foundations. If you have it in Aleph Bet Ne'edar, you can also use the Friends textbook Aleph Bet. If you don't have an Aleph Bet, start in Gimel. And I think when you and I talked about it, we said I'd rather them lose a month or two of school before they start reading, so they can actually build what they need, so that when they start the decoding plus, to me, then they're really reading. And I think that's really important.
Definitely. It puts you as a publisher in a tricky, or a book writer in a tricky position, because at the moment, the actual requirements in the ministry are that we begin teaching English in the third grade. The teachers and schools can choose to begin earlier. And so you have some who are doing both. But you, as a textbook writer, have to be under the assumption that no, they've only started in the third grade. But as you said, they can use it at different speeds. They can use the book prior, and it's actually great if they're coming in with the oral before they start the reading. So maybe exposing them to language prior is fine, but it's just not something that can be skipped, because you just can't build something without a foundation, and language is the foundation. Right. Something else.
And I want to say one more thing. I know this is our longest slide, but this is so important. We talked about the insanity theorem, Einstein's insanity theorem, and you can't keep doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome. So on some of the comments, I see teachers are saying, well, I've been using the same book for 40 years. Why should I change now? And if you're getting the results you want, and these students in Hey, Vav, and beyond are still loving English and are expanding and can use the language, don't change it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But if you're not getting the results you want with whole language learning, then maybe it's time to say, I should try something else that might be better equipped to today's children.
And even if you are doing really well, the sky's the limit and beyond. You could try something else. Maybe you'll do even better. Who knows? It's worth
Who knows? I remember when my kids were young, I used to always tell them, try new food. And I said, who knows? If you don't, you might be missing your new favorite food, right?
Yeah, you might even like it. Absolutely. So do you have some concrete examples here again?
So you asked me earlier. So I think it's really important that we understand that when we build the foundations, and for some teachers, they might say, Gabi, we're working in Aleph Bet, and then the Friends textbook, you have the foundations, and I don't need that because I've done it. Then get the book in Bet. Some teachers are taking it in Bet. One of the evaluators for the book had said she thinks it's also an excellent program before Gimel. So why I'm saying this is the whole beginning of the book does a whole bunch of phonemic awareness. We need to have phonological awareness. We need to have before the phonics. So if we say, the word sit, so I can say, okay, who has a in their name? Who has a in their family, in their street? We want to really, again, take it back to connecting to themselves, but let the kids have an ear for the language. Again, pre-reading structures, reception before production, and then eventually we'll get to the production as well. But it's so important for us to give our kids a really incubator time. Help them build a love and an ear for the language before we run into reading. because if not, we're going to miss something. And I think also, if I waste a month or two of my school year being sure they have the foundations, it's like we talked about, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Absolutely.
I'll be preparing them to do much better later.
Exactly. So as you said before, they may miss or be delayed by a month at one stage, but it will actually save them, I don't know, a few months, or reteaching or fixing what has been broken later on. So they're actually gaining.
And Devorah, you actually told me, sorry, Israel, but Devorah, you had told me that when you used to teach third grade, sometimes you didn't finish all the letters in that third grade year. So what happened? Did the kids, blow up and die? Like what happened?
I probably shouldn't say this, but I don't know who will be mad, but I don't think that I had a single year where I finished all the letters in the third grade, but that was by choice, usually, because I wanted to do a decent job of it. And I also always found, and this is, I didn't do formal research on this, but I just, this is something that I saw, that between the first year of language and the second year, like the penny dropped. So if I was working really, really slowly on the letters in the first year after exposure to language and oral and all of that, the next year when I came back and picked up and reviewed the letters that we'd done and continued with the letters that I didn't complete in the third grade, we could fly through it because they already had a feel for the language. And maybe somebody should do formal research on that, but that's something that I found in the field.
And they were more mature and probably also ready to get what they were lacking, you said, so super quickly. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So this is me now, right?
Yes, it's you. Welcome back.
I'm going to read it again. So what actually needs to change? It's a huge question. Everything we've covered today, the engagement problem, the time problem, the cognitive load problem that you discussed about, it all points here. Not what's wrong with the students. That's not the question. It's not what's wrong with the teachers. What needs to change in the material and the approach. And that's exactly where Devorah and Gabi are taking us now. Okay, the solution.
Okay, so something that I want to say, I plan certain things, but just from hearing what you have to say in Israel, is that there are no teacher failures and there are no student failures, but sometimes there are design challenges. So choosing wisely can prevent what seems like a failure. It's not a failure. I'm not, blaming anyone, but there are other ways of doing things. So if we want English learning in the early years to be successful, we need more than just good intentions. It's nice to have these good intentions, but we need more than that. We need materials and learning experiences built on clear principles of how children learn language, how teachers teach in real classrooms, and what can realistically be achieved within limited time. At the beginning stages, learners need carefully selected high-frequency language they can actually use. This means focusing on what we have in our curriculum: Band 1 vocabulary, everyday lexical chunks, clear can-do statements that define meaningful outcomes. Young learners need language introduced gradually and purposefully. Learning must return again and again, as we said, as we're saying again and again. And to previously taught languages, to do it again and again in new ways. Children forget quickly when language appears once and then disappears. Okay, finished with the test, we don't need these words anymore. No, they're going to forget them. So as we said, spiral reinforcement helps move learning from short-term recognition to long-term ownership. Research shows that children learn more deeply when they feel connected to the content, so the relevance again. Topics, visuals, stories, and tasks should reflect their world, their interests, their emotions, and their curiosity. When learners enjoy the experience and see themselves in it, effort becomes much more natural. It's not even effort anymore necessarily. So when these elements come together, clear language goals, thoughtful sequences, reinforcement, engagement, and teacher support, English learning becomes far more likely to succeed. It becomes sustainable, it becomes meaningful, and it becomes effective. So we've discussed the challenges teachers and learners face. and we see the needs, what needs to exist. But what can we do tomorrow to take action and make a change?
Excellent. So, Israel, our next slide, please. Thank you. So the idea is really taking this from theory to practice, Devorah, and it's not an easy thing. Educating our children today, again, the reality in Israel, the reality in our classrooms, the demands on the teachers, it's not an easy task to say, how can I successfully reach my English language learning goals? And we need to take these concrete and very real problems and put them into concrete solutions. And what we've done is we've really, designed the entire Friends textbook program based on not only, what I know in psychology and coaching and how to help people go through a learning process, but from what teachers said in the field. And I think that that's really important is because we are a small, new company. We've only been in Misrad HaChinuch since 2021 or 2022. We are agile. We are flexible. We're available to hear teacher feedback and create things based on the demand of what the teachers in the field say they need today. So when we built our foundations and when we built our program, it was listening to the teacher frustrations. I'm in all the WhatsApp groups. I don't participate all the time, but I hear all the teachers saying, "Lama nzeh, v'ma im zeh? What do I do about this?" And the idea was, how can we truly make a design that supports the teacher, that gives her the attention she needs, that gives her the structures that she needs, that answers the demands of the ministry. And I feel like it's time to realize that to make revolutionary change in the Department of Education, in the topic of English, we need to bring something new that's balanced. Again, I don't believe in all digital. I think that we need to have a balance. I think there's a value in our kids writing and coloring and singing and doing the old-fashioned things, in addition to the more modern technology and all the digital fun we bring. But we need to really look at building a system conscientiously solving these problems. That's what's on my mind.
Okay.
Move on.
Yeah. Questions and conclusions. This is where we really want to address any of the questions you guys asked that we didn't cover. I see the questions coming in, and I think I tried to move into some of those, and Devorah answered a lot of those just in her speaking. Anything else?
Give me just 1 second. I'm going over a few. I think I do have one that wasn't answered. Man, my computer is stuck now. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Here.
So if you don't find
someone actually wrote what you said, that I've been working with the program with a specific textbook for 30 years. Why should I change now? You definitely answered that.
Well, what I have to say is that no textbook has been approved for 30 years, so that's strange. But we can always, try something new. For yourself as a teacher, it can get boring, and also our learners are in a different time and day and age than things that were produced 30 years ago. Gabi, I believe all of your material is very relevant to learners nowadays and their lives now. And who knows, you might be even more successful than you have been for 30 years.
Wow. Sky's the limit, like you said.
Yeah.
It is. Another one, I need my students to read. At the end of Gimel, we talked about the pressure. That all I can focus on them knowing all the letters. You also mentioned it. So that they can, the readers just are CVC readers by May of 3rd grade. So basically, the teacher asked, I need to focus on something, and the only thing I have is to focus on teaching them the letters.
So Gabi, if you don't mind, I'll jump in and then you can continue as well. But I can understand that we have accountability, okay, and the ministry has guidelines, and we have principles, and we, principal, like the guy at school who's working with us, and they hold us accountable, and we need to, there are certain expectations. But again, if your medicine and prevention and what you were saying before, if we do it right in the first place, even if it takes 2 minutes longer now, it'll take 20 years, not 20 years, but it will take a lot less time later. So I don't want to get anybody fired by their principal, but quality sometimes is better than quantity.
Absolutely. I want to tell you, I'm from Kiryat Shmona. We lived there until October 8th, 2023. And I was in the shuk. I used to love being in the shuk in Kiryat Shmona, and I'm in the shuk like years ago, and this tall kid comes up to me, 20-something. He says, "Are you Gabi?" And I'm like, "Oh no, what did I do?" And he says, "I'm Ro'i. I was in your English. I learned English with you in 1st and 2nd grade." And I'm thinking, Ro'i was like this tiny little kid. He says, "Yeah, it was me." And he said, "I wanted to thank you. I just came back from shlichut in the army. They sent me to be the English representative." And I said, "Ro'i, ma kashur? I taught you colors, parts of the body, and head, shoulders, knees, and toes. It has nothing to do with your achievements." And he said, "I want you to know that because of you, I fell in love with English. And everything from then on, the rest of my life, I just knew that I loved English. And no matter how hard it got," he's like, "my chakra was like open for English." And I think that for me, it brings goosebumps to think that this 20-something-year-old even considered that what he learned when he was 7 or 8 impacted his language learning journey. And that's what we want. We want them to have these positive experiences where they use the language and love the language, and that'll build the confidence that they need, the roots in the tree for the rest of their growth. I really see that.
Absolutely. Gabi, you can walk away from the position now. You've achieved the ultimate goal. Don't do that though, because we need you here. But wow, that's what's more amazing than that.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Any other questions that we haven't really addressed, Israel?
And I think you've addressed even more than that was asked. Some repeating questions, but that's the big ones.
Excellent. So Israel, before we go on, I just want to see, Devorah, do you have any concluding thoughts, anything you would want to add?
Summing up.
Yeah, definitely. So first of all, if there's one message that I would like to leave with today, it's this. Young learners can succeed in English when we build the right conditions for success from the very beginning. When learning is meaningful, well-sequenced, engaging, and achievable, children do not simply learn English, they begin to believe they can learn it. So, okay, what you said with your learner there fits perfectly. And that belief can shape everything that follows. Now, just to add something here that I, wasn't thinking of, you asked me if I would give you, my mission statement or my ani ma'amin, and I can't limit anything to, one statement. But I was thinking about it this morning when I walked into a school. I saw a big glass mural which said "Ve'ahavta l'recha kamocha," and well, that's a beautiful, phrase from the Bible. As it is, it made me think that it's even more important with our learners. We have to not just l'recha, not just your neighbor, your friend, but your learner. We need to, and not as we love ourselves, but as we love our own children. We need to see our learners as though they are our personal children and give them those conditions that we would want our personal children to have. So, before you do your final summing up, I want to thank you for making English accessible, meaningful, and I'm sure, successful for all young learners.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. I can't tell you thank you enough for being here. It is such a rare and beautiful honor to have you speaking with us, and I believe so powerfully that we all come on this earth with different midot and different missions. And I believe that since I made Aliyah in 2004, I didn't intend on being involved in English education at all, but it sort of adopted me because I found it something I could help Israeli children succeed in. And I feel like anything we do, like you had said, if we can do it, if we can do it from joy, if we can joyfully do whatever we're doing in blessed doing, we will reach amazing goals. And I've really given my heart and soul to be sure that everything that we bring reflects that joy. And I hope for all of us quiet, beautiful days, and that we continue to live and learn out of joy and love. Mamash kacha.
So if you don't mind, in this positive words that you just both said, we came to the end of this amazing talk. Thank you for joining us, all of you. We have actually a few things. First of all, we're going to send all of you the presentation for your use, if it helps you, if it focuses you. Any help is from our side is a bless. If we can help you, that's great. We will also, I added here in the chat, the public chat, a link to the WhatsApp group and a link to the Calendly to set up a meeting. If you're interested in hearing more, asking more specific questions regarding your school or purchasing the book or anything else, it's here. I'll also add a link on the top, maybe a bit later. Any way you can press either link and it will take you to the right place. And that's it, I think. We have the information here of the site. You can have more information on the book and our support WhatsApp number. And any other things I'm missing? Gabi, Devorah?
Devorah, thank you so much for being with us today.
My pleasure.
Yes,
Enjoyed it very much.
thank you very much.
Thank you guys for hosting me.
So
stay safe, everyone. Israel, thank you so much.
Stay safe. Thank you too. Bye-bye.